The silent boundary. Admiral Kira Blackwood stood at the observation deck of the TNS Hyperion, her weathered fingers tracing the holographic border that marked the edge of known space. 27 years of service in the Terran Naval Command hadn't prepared her for the weight of what she discovered in the classified archives. The truth about why alien civilizations refused to map human space. The massive viewscreen before her displayed the latest diplomatic incident. A Centaurian survey vessel hovering at the boundary, its sensors dark, its crew refusing to cross the invisible line that separated human space from the rest of the galaxy. It was the fourth alien ship this month to approach the border, scan it, and retreat. Admiral, Lieutenant Marcus Chen's voice crackled through the comm. The Centaurians are requesting permission to speak with you directly. Kira straightened her midnight blue uniform, adjusting the silver insignia that marked her rank. Put them through, Lieutenant. The holographic display shimmered, revealing the elongated features of First Navigator Dexnil, their crystalline skin refracting light in patterns that betrayed their anxiety. Admiral Blackwood, we mean no disrespect to the Terran Alliance, but our instruments detect anomalies beyond your border. Our council demands we return immediately. Kira maintained her diplomatic smile, even as her mind raced through the implications. The Centaurians were among the most advanced species in terms of stellar cartography. If they were spooked, it meant the containment protocols were still holding. Of course, First Navigator. Safe journey back to Centauri Prime. The transmission ended, and Kira's smile faded. She pulled up the classified file she discovered 3 days ago, unauthorized access that would have cost her a career if anyone found out. Project Guardian, dated 50 years ago, the file that explained everything. The door to the observation deck hissed open. Commander Rajesh Patel entered, his dark eyes reflecting the starlight. They're getting bolder, aren't they? Testing our borders more frequently. They're curious, Raj, and they should be. Kira brought up another hologram, this one showing the disappearances. Dozens of alien vessels over the past century, all vanished after crossing into human space without authorization. No debris, no distress calls, just silence. The Arcturus protocol is still in effect, Rajesh asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Always, Kira expanded the hologram, revealing the true scope of human space. While other species claimed territories in neat, logical patterns, human space was different. It twisted through the galaxy like a maze, following patterns that seemed random but weren't. Patterns that matched the movements of something ancient, something that had chosen humanity for reasons no one fully understood. The Meridian Federation submitted another formal request for our mapping data, Rajesh reported. Their science council is getting suspicious about the gaps in their star charts. Kira closed her eyes, remembering the contents of Project Guardian. The true reason human ships navigated so differently from other species. Why their territories formed such strange patterns. Why no unauthorized vessel ever returned from human space. Let them be suspicious, she said finally. Better that than the alternative. A red alert flashed across her neural interface. Another unauthorized entry, this time from the Aldari Collective. A small research vessel, probably thinking they could slip through unnoticed. Admiral, Lieutenant Chen's voice was tense. The Aldari ship, they're not responding to warnings. Kira watched the holographic display as the alien vessel crossed the boundary. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sensors detected it, the subtle distortion in space-time that marked their presence. How long? Rajesh asked. 17 seconds, Kira replied, counting down in her head. Right on schedule, the Aldari ship's energy signature flickered and vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone like all the others. She accessed her neural interface, dictating an addition to her personal log. The greatest burden of command isn't ordering soldiers into battle. It's keeping secrets that would shatter worlds. We are not alone in this galaxy, but we are alone in our purpose. They chose us, these ancient entities that guard against something even they fear. And until humanity understands why, we must maintain the silence, protect the boundary, and bear the weight of being the galaxy's greatest mystery. The stars continued their eternal dance beyond the viewscreen, and somewhere out there, the entities that had chosen humanity as their partners continued their vigilant watch. The galaxy could wonder, could fear, could spread rumors about why their maps showed nothing but void where human space should be. But they could never know the truth, not until they were ready, not until we understood it ourselves. Admiral Kira Blackwood turned from the observation deck, the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. Another day of guarding not just human space, but a secret that protected the entire galaxy, whether the galaxy wanted that protection or not. Whispers in the void. The ancient temple complex of Rixthor crumbled beneath Zaxthor's feet, its crystalline walls still humming with residual energy after 50,000 years. The Meridian archaeologist adjusted his environmental suit, the transparent scales of his skin reflecting the dim light of the abandoned world. This was his 9th expedition to the Outer Rim, searching for evidence of the precursors, but something about this site felt different. The wall before him bore markings unlike anything he'd seen in 2 decades of research. They weren't the typical geometric patterns of precursor script, but something more urgent, almost desperate. His neural translator worked through the symbols, each new interpretation sending shivers through his crystalline form. "Professor," his assistant Nilax called through the comm, "you need to see this." In the adjacent chamber, Nilax stood before a massive holographic projection, somehow still functioning after millennia. The image showed a star map, but with vast sections deliberately obscured, marked with warning symbols that even their advanced translation software struggled to interpret. "It's a map of quarantined space," Zaxthor realized, his voice barely a whisper. "But these coordinates, they match perfectly with modern human territory." He accessed his data pad, pulling up current galactic maps. The void where human space should be aligned perfectly with the precursor warnings. It couldn't be coincidence. "There's more," Nilax said, her scales shifting to a pale blue of concern. She gestured to a sequence of glyphs running along the base of the projection. "This isn't just a warning, it's a record." The translation gradually appeared in Zaxthor's neural interface. "They emerge where the barriers thin. The humans do not fear them as we did. They embrace the Watchers, become one with their purpose. The quarantine must hold." A distant rumble shook the chamber, dust and crystal fragments raining down from above. Zaxthor's instrument panel flashed warnings, gravitational anomalies, quantum fluctuations that shouldn't be possible in normal space. "We need to leave," he ordered, but his feet remained frozen in place as new glyphs appeared on the wall, forming before his eyes. Impossible. The temple had been dead for millennia. The fresh markings pulsed with an inner light. The warning endures, the Watchers protect, the humans guard. "Professor," Nilax's voice cracked with fear. Through the ancient temple's crystal walls, something moved in the darkness of space. Something vast, its form shifting between dimensions, its presence defying the laws of physics themselves. They barely made it to their research vessel, the engines straining as they pushed away from the abandoned world. As they entered hyperspace, Zaxthor couldn't shake the image of what he'd seen through those crystalline walls. It had looked at him, not with eyes, but with awareness that transcended physical form. Back in the relative safety of Meridian space, Zaxthor pored over the data they'd gathered. The precursors hadn't just left warnings, they'd left a history. A history that explained why human space remained unmapped, why their territories formed such strange patterns across the galaxy. "The Council needs to see this," Nilax insisted, but Zaxthor wasn't so sure. He pulled up recent reports. The disappearance of the Aldari research vessel, the Centaurian survey ship's hasty retreat, the growing number of stories about strange phenomena at the edges of human space. The precursor warnings suddenly felt less like ancient history and more like a pressing reality. "No," he decided. "First, we need to understand, and for that we need to talk to the humans themselves." His research team looked at him as though he'd gone mad. No Meridian had willingly entered human space in over a century. Their ships disappeared there, their probes went dark, their signals were lost in whatever strange phenomena pervaded that region of space. But Zaxthor knew this was bigger than scientific curiosity. The precursor ruins hadn't just shown him what to fear, they'd shown him what to ask. The humans weren't just occupying that space, they were guarding it, working with whatever entities the precursors had feared so much that they'd abandoned entire sectors of space. He sent a carefully worded message to the human diplomatic corps, knowing it would probably be ignored like all the others. But this time, he included something different, a single image from the temple showing the precursor warning glyphs. The response came within hours, marked with the highest diplomatic priority. A human representative would meet him at a neutral station near the border of their space. They knew about the ruins. They'd been waiting for someone to find them. As Zaxter prepared for the meeting, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into something far larger than archaeological discovery. The precursors hadn't just left warnings about human space, they'd left instructions. And somehow, humanity had found them first, learned their purpose, and taken up a mantle that an ancient civilization had fled from in terror. The question wasn't why the galactic maps avoided human space. The question was, what were the humans protecting out there in the void? And more importantly, what had convinced them to become guardians of something that had frightened even the mighty precursors? His ship's sensors detected another gravitational anomaly just at the edge of their range. This time, Zaxter didn't flee. He watched, measured, recorded. If he was going to understand the truth about human space, he needed to start by understanding what lived in the darkness between their stars. The Guardian Protocol. Commander Alina Reyes stood before the quantum containment field, its surface rippling like liquid starlight. Behind her, the massive underground facility of Station Omega hummed with power, channeling enough energy to sustain a small sun. But it wasn't used for power generation or weapons research. It was used for something far more crucial: communication. "They're reaching out again," Technical Director Ryuji Tanaka reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Same pattern as before." Alina watched as patterns formed in the quantum field, shapes that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. After 15 years of working with the entities, she still couldn't look at them directly without her mind trying to impose familiar forms on their impossible geometry. "Show me the latest incursion data," she ordered, and a new hologram sprang to life. It showed the Aldari research vessel that had crossed the border last week, its final moments captured in quantum resolution. The ship hadn't been destroyed, it had been transformed, shifted into a state of existence that human languages had no words for. "The Meridian archaeologist's request has been approved," Ryuji said, his voice carefully neutral. "High Command thinks he's found something important in those ruins." Alina nodded, remembering her own first encounter with the truth. She'd been a junior officer then, assigned to what she thought was a routine patrol of the outer colonies. Instead, she'd witnessed her first contact event. She'd seen how the entities had reached out, not to destroy or conquer, but to offer humanity a choice. A choice the precursors had rejected in terror. "Prepare the briefing chamber," she said. "If he's coming here, he needs to understand what he's walking into." The facility's lower levels contained humanity's greatest secret, proof that they weren't alone in the universe, but not in the way anyone had expected. The entities weren't aliens in any conventional sense. They were guardians, watchers at the walls of reality, protecting existence itself from something worse than death. Alina made her way to the central chamber, where the largest quantum field pulsed with otherworldly light. Here, in this heavily shielded room, she could communicate directly with them. Not with words, they didn't think in such linear terms, but with concepts, impressions, shared understanding. "They're worried," Dr. Samira Hassan, the project's lead xenophysicist, said as she joined Alina. "More species are pushing at our borders. The Aldari, the Centaurians, now the Meridians. The containment protocol is becoming harder to maintain." Alina understood their concern. Humanity had accepted this partnership, this sacred duty, but they'd done so knowing it would set them apart forever. Other species saw empty space where human territories should be. They didn't see the quantum barriers, the dimensional anchors, the careful choreography that kept reality itself from unraveling. "Show me the deep scan," Alina requested, and Samira brought up a new display. It showed what human space really looked like, a complex web of quantum barriers and dimensional reinforcement points, maintained by both human technology and the entity's own unfathomable powers. They were protecting more than just space. They were protecting the very fabric of existence from things that lurked between dimensions, horrors that would consume entire galaxies if they ever found a way through. The precursors had glimpsed these things and run. Humanity had seen them and chosen to stand their ground. An alert flashed across her neural interface. The Meridian vessel carrying Zaxter had arrived at the rendezvous point. Soon, another species would learn part of the truth about human space. But how much could they reveal? How much could any species bear to know about what really existed in the darkness between realities? "The entities are reaching consensus," Ryuji reported, his eyes fixed on the quantum field's shifting patterns. "They agree the Meridians need to know at least some of it." Alina touched the quantum field, feeling the familiar sensation of minds vast beyond comprehension brushing against her consciousness. They had chosen humanity because humans could look into the abyss without flinching, could face the impossible without breaking. Now they would see if the Meridians possessed similar strength. "Begin preparation for limited disclosure," she ordered, "but keep the defense grid at full power if anything goes wrong." She didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone in Station Omega knew the protocols. The entities were humanity's partners, but they were also insurance. If any species learned the truth and couldn't handle it, couldn't be trusted with it, they would simply cease to be. Not out of malice, but out of necessity. Because what lurked beyond the quantum barriers couldn't be allowed to break through. The galaxy could fear human space, could spread rumors and theories about why their maps showed nothing but void. That fear was a small price to pay for continued existence. Alina checked her uniform one last time, preparing to meet their Meridian guest. She would show him enough to understand, but not enough to break him. Because that was part of humanity's duty too, judging how much truth other species could bear. The entities stirred in their quantum fields, their patterns shifting in what Alina had learned to recognize as anticipation. They had chosen humanity as partners, but perhaps they had always known this day would come. The day when others would need to understand why human space remained unmapped, and what price humanity paid to keep the galaxy safe. The price of knowledge. Ambassador Jun Wei's diplomatic vessel cut through the quantum distortions of human space, its specially modified engines humming with technology that didn't officially exist. Beside him, Vexler of the Aldari Collective stood perfectly still, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with barely contained anxiety. "The void patterns are wrong here," Vexler observed, their translator struggling to convey concepts that existed at the edge of comprehension. "Space itself resists analysis." Jun nodded, remembering his first journey through these regions. No amount of preparation could ready someone for the reality of what human space actually was. The ship's quantum shields pulsed as they passed through another dimensional barrier, the fabric of reality rippling around them. "What you're seeing," Jun explained, "is the surface of something much deeper, like ripples on an ocean hiding what moves in the depths below." The main viewport showed their destination. Station Omega, humanity's primary contact point with the entities. Its twisted geometry shouldn't have been possible, its structure existing partially in dimensions beyond normal space-time. Even after decades of partnership with the entities, humans could only comprehend small portions of the station at a time. "The precursor warnings," Vexler said, their voice dropping to a whisper. "They weren't about you at all, were they? Humanity isn't the threat, you're the guardians." Before Jun could respond, the ship's sensors registered multiple contacts. The entities were approaching, their impossible forms rippling through space like living quantum equations. Jun felt the familiar pressure in his mind, the sense of vast intelligences trying to communicate in ways human brains weren't designed to process. Vexler gasped, their bioluminescence flaring bright enough to cast shadows. The Aldari was experiencing direct contact with the entities for the first time, feeling the weight of cosmic awareness pressing against mortal consciousness. "Don't fight it," Jun advised, placing a steadying hand on the alien diplomat's shoulder. "Let the impressions flow through you. They're not trying to communicate in words." The entities surrounded their ship, their forms shifting between states of matter and energy that defied classification. Through the quantum-enhanced viewport, Jun could see them more clearly than most. Vast, geometric patterns that folded through dimensions, carrying echoes of realities that existed alongside their own. "They're showing me," Vexler's translator crackled with distortion. "The barriers, the things beyond, the reason for the quarantine." The entities were indeed sharing visions, not just with Vexler but with everyone aboard. Jun saw again what had convinced humanity to accept this burden. Glimpses of horrors that lurked between realities, things that would devour existence itself if they ever found a way through. The entities were sentinels, ancient beyond comprehension, and they had chosen humanity as their partners in this eternal vigil. Their ship docked with Station Omega, the quantum fields adjusting to allow safe passage. Commander Alina Reyes waited in the reception chamber, her uniform bearing the subtle markings that identified her as one of the few humans authorized for direct entity contact. "Welcome to Station Omega," she said, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen beyond the veil of reality. What you're about to learn will change everything you think you know about the universe. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Vexler's bioluminescent patterns had stabilized, showing colors that Jun recognized as determination mixed with awe. The Aldari Collective has searched for truth since our earliest days, they said. We never imagined it would be like this. The station's quantum fields pulsed, and Jun felt the entity's approval. They had chosen humanity first, but perhaps they had always known others would need to join the watch. The galaxy was changing, and the old policy of total secrecy might no longer be sustainable. Commander Reyes led them deeper into the station, through corridors that seemed to bend through extra dimensions. What you saw out there was just the surface, she explained. The entities maintain a network of quantum barriers throughout human space, preventing incursion from something else, something worse. The dimensional horrors, Vexler said, their translator struggling with concepts it was never designed to convey. The things that even the precursors feared. They reached the central chamber, where the largest quantum field rippled like a living sea of possibilities. Here, the entities manifested more clearly, their forms almost comprehensible to mortal minds. Almost, but not quite. This is why our maps show nothing, Jun explained to Vexler. Why our territories form such strange patterns across the galaxy. We're not claiming space, we're guarding weak points in reality itself. The entities showed us where the barriers needed to be maintained. Commander Reyes activated a holographic display, showing the true nature of human space. A vast network of quantum barriers and dimensional anchors, maintaining the integrity of reality itself. The precursors found these weak points first, she said, but they ran from the responsibility. Humanity chose to stay to become partners with the entities in protecting existence itself. Vexler approached the quantum field, their scientific curiosity overcoming their fear. And the ships that disappeared in your space, the expeditions that never returned. Some things can't be unlearned, Jun said quietly. Those who discover the truth without preparation, without context. The entities protect reality itself. They can't risk the knowledge spreading in the wrong way. The quantum field pulsed, and new visions filled their minds. The entities were showing them more, testing their resolve, judging their worthiness to share in humanity's burden. Because that's what it was, not just a secret, but a duty. A responsibility that humanity had carried alone for too long. The Eternal Watch. Admiral Kira Blackwood stood before the assembled Galactic Council, her presence marking the first time a human had addressed this body in over a century. The vast chamber held representatives from every major spacefaring civilization, their diverse forms united by a single burning question, the truth about human space. The quantum field projector hummed to life behind her, its technology a fusion of human innovation and the entity's impossible science. Around the chamber, expressions of shock and awe rippled through the assembled delegates as they saw, for the first time, what truly existed in the void their maps couldn't chart. For generations, Kira began, you have wondered why your ships disappear in our territory, why your maps show nothing but emptiness where human space should be. Today, that changes, not because we chose to reveal it, but because what we guard has begun to stir. The projection shifted, showing the network of quantum barriers that crisscrossed human space. Zaxter, now bearing the marks of one who had witnessed the truth, stood to address his fellow council members. The precursor ruins weren't warnings about humanity, he announced, his crystalline form reflecting the quantum field's light. They were instructions left for whoever would have the courage to become guardians. Humanity found them first. They accepted the burden that our ancestors fled from. Commander Alina Reyes stepped forward, her uniform bearing new insignia that represented the joint human-entity command structure. What exists beyond our quantum barriers cannot be fought with weapons or technology alone. It requires something more, the will to stand against the impossible, to guard reality itself from forces that would unmake everything we know. The projection changed again, showing glimpses of what lurked beyond the barriers. Several council members recoiled, their minds struggling to process the geometric impossibilities, the twisted forms that existed between dimensions. Vexler, their bioluminescence pulsing with remembered terror and determination, raised their voice. We have seen it, they declared. The Aldari Collective has witnessed what humanity protects us from. We have felt the touch of the entity's thoughts, and we understand now why secrecy was necessary. The chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations as the full truth began to sink in. Humanity hadn't claimed territory out of aggression or expansion. They had positioned themselves precisely where they needed to be, guarding weak points in the fabric of reality itself. The entities chose us, Kira continued, because humans can face the impossible without breaking. We can look into the void between realities and still maintain our sanity. But now the barriers grow thin. What lurks beyond becomes restless. We can no longer maintain this watch alone. The quantum field flared, and everyone in the chamber felt it, the pressure of vast, ancient minds touching their consciousness. The entities themselves were making their presence known, showing the assembled species what humanity had known for generations, the true nature of existence and the horrors that threatened it. "We are not asking for help," Alina stated firmly. "We are offering you a choice, the same choice humanity faced when we first encountered the entities. You can turn away, let your maps show void where we stand guard, or you can join us in protecting everything that exists." Jun Wei stepped forward, his diplomatic training evident in his measured words. "The price of this knowledge is responsibility. Those who know must help maintain the barriers, must join humanity and the entities in their eternal vigil. There is no middle ground, no partial acceptance." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a revelation about human space. It was an invitation to join in something greater, something that transcended ordinary politics and species divisions. "The dimensional horrors grow stronger," Kira warned. "The entities believe that soon the barriers will face challenges we haven't seen since the time of the precursors. Humanity has stood this watch for generations, but we were never meant to stand it alone." The quantum field pulsed again, stronger this time, and every being in the chamber saw it clearly. The vast network of reality anchors and dimensional barriers, the twisted geometries of things that hungered for existence itself, and the entities that had chosen humanity as their first partners in an eternal war for reality itself. One by one, the council members began to signal their acceptance. They had feared human space because they didn't understand it. Now, understanding brought not relief but responsibility. The galaxy would never be the same. "Let the maps show void," Kira concluded. "Let ships disappear, let the galaxy wonder, because behind that mystery we stand guard. Humanity, the entities, and now others who choose to join us. Together we maintain the barriers between realities. Together we protect existence itself from forces that would unmake everything." The entity's presence filled the chamber one final time, their vast awareness touching every mind present. And in that touch was both a warning and a promise. The watch would continue, the barriers would hold, and reality itself would endure, protected by those who had the courage to face the impossible and stand their ground. The galaxy might never know the full truth about human space, but for those who chose to join the watch, the void on their maps would no longer represent fear of the unknown. It would stand as a testament to the guardians who protected existence itself, their territories marked not by political boundaries, but by the needs of their eternal vigil.